Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Welcome, welcome. And wow, I got an exciting episode for you today. The 100 tasks. So I think mainly I'm like getting really tired of this 100 tasks advertising I get on Instagram like basically every single day. 100 tasks, 100 tasks, 100 tasks. And basically, his argument, he's saying it's actually a very compelling argument. I think that it's a really great advertisement because he's like, well, it doesn't really matter what your idea is. Like the main issue of a business is not actually the idea; it's the implementation of these concrete steps. And we followed all these hundreds and hundreds of businesses. We found that if you don't go through these exact steps, then your chances of success is almost nothing because you have to have these steps. And these are like it's almost like saying, okay, so if you have a map and then you're trying to get to the top of the mountain, and then there's like you have to get past all these milestones. If you don't get past all these milestones, you're not going to get to the top of the mountain. Makes sense. What do you want, Gordon? Gordon. Come here, wait. It's Doug. I start talking. Come say hi. Gordon, why do you want to say hi? What is it that you want to say? Huh? What do you want to say, Gordon? What do you want to say, Gordon? Goody? What do you want? What do you want, buddy? This is a happy dog. Gordon is a happy dog. Gordon, are you a happy dog? He wants attention. Time, tender love, and attention. All right. What? I gotta get back to this. Stop scratching. Stuff. Anyways, all right. It's Saturday. I had a couple of energy drinks, so I'm just having a good time. All right. Now the thing is, so I looked at these 100 tasks a while ago, and I don't know. It was just like, okay, was a let me just share the window. Let's start out with the window. Why the window and not the entire screen? Um, Eventually we're going to share the tab. Okay, I want to pull this one out and I need to check to make sure that we're showing the right thing and the audio is working. Okay, audio. Check the audio. Okay, good. Everything's good. All right, so here's the intro to the 100 tasks. Here's the website. These are the guys who keep sending me ads. And here it is, systematically build your startup fast. Look at this. So these are all of their like they have all these pages. And basically it's kind of like here it is. So you see this image here? This has all of the steps, and then their book has like each of the steps. And they did a really good job in designing and putting together these steps. And oh, there's they got 100 explainer videos. Wow. Your startup primary competition PIs. So they did a good job. I like it. I really like it. Honestly, I'm really impressed by their stuff. And it helps you to know the process. Look at this. To do my to do calendar. They even have some kind of to do list. All tasks. Now, why am I showing this to you? Because for two reasons. One of the reasons is my website is working. Like it's freaking awesome. Check this out. You see this menu, main navigation is up there. We got our home screen, so we got our decision module. We got our direction, direction. So where are we going? Decision. Okay, let's decide on one specific direction, and then alignment. Let's get the team involved. Huh, I don't like the color differences because we got the blue is here, the yellow is over here, the green is over here. That could be confusing. Anyways, we could let's clear the session. Hey, you see that? Everything works. And anyways, let's start in the brainstorming section. Everything works. Everything works. All right, so we got step one, imitate trends, brainstorm module. We got everything the right color. Everything's looking great. We got our Home button is working. Okay, so step one. The first step to innovation is to understand the landscape. Look at what competitors, industry leaders, and even successful entities in other fields are doing. Identify current trends is key to seeing the opportunities. Questions. Questions? How are others doing it? Have you figured out best practices? Talk to experts, follow the trends so you can keep up with what's going on. Provide examples. List current trends, competitor strategies, and best practices you've observed. Provide detailed thoughts and examples. What's this? Nice. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Okay, so what does it mean? It means we're trying to like look at how do other people do it? So right now we got this one Google Gemini, Googly Goo, and what's going on here? I'm trying to figure out how to begin a marketing process. Yeah, it's true that the product it's not launched yet and it's not quite like ready, but it's at least now I have the confidence that Windsurf can do it, Claude Sonnet 4 can do it. Like I'm really happy. I don't know if you can see I'm beaming ear to ear. It's not just those energy drinks because my app it works. I click the next button, everything works. Look at this, see the progress bar up there. This is awesome. Progress. Oh, you can't see me clicking. And then click the next one. Then we're in the choose module. Let me just make the screen a little bit smaller. You choose module. Look at this. Everything works perfectly. And then the objectives module. And then I think it sends you back to the home screen at this point. Yeah. So then you come here to view all the tasks. Now I haven't actually tried the export task list buttons yet. I'm not quite ready to export a task list. Right now we're focusing on making the tasks. Also, my blog is the blog's back up. I need to create some kind of like ability to upload blog articles. Our pricing page works. Get our free course. I mean, we're still in the process. So look, everything works. Use the free tool button, the home page, use the free tool button, pricing. That's weird. Everything works. Pricing page. Like literally every page, like except for I don't know if anyways. So that's what I'm like. I'm happy now. Let's jump back into. So if we go back in on our product, so right now we're thinking about marketing messages, and I get the feeling like it's not on the right side. I don't know. Do you get that feeling like it's just not in the right place? That we got marketing messages in the first place. Now, when we talk about the business model canvas, we can use the business model canvas to discuss like our product R&D. So this is where I'm building my website. And then also this is like the point of sale. That's the website. So where does the blog article go? The blog article goes into the messaging, the marketing messages. And the point of sale, the thing is that the point of sale, mhm. Yeah, so right now I'm going to leave this here because this could be things like what? Like Stripe integration, um, payments, maybe banking, taxes, things like that. So maybe we'll just leave that right there because since we're still not making money, so we don't really know like how that one is going to be used, but it's likely it will be used. So anyways, now we got the marketing messages in the first place. Why? Because the product, it's like the biggest problem here now is the marketing messages. Now, when we talk about key partners, those partners could be related to the messages, the marketing messages that we're creating. It could also be related to the product. Key activities, it could be marketing messages. It could also be product. Resources that we're using could be used to create marketing messages, could be used to create product. The value proposition is the actual. So I think traditionally we think of the value proposition as the product, but I think that because of the way that we're framing this argument. So I had some conversations with marketing people, and we came to the conclusion that there's two versions, right? There's two ideas that we're trying to play with here. And if you have Where did I put it? I showed you this last time. If we use the concept of deliberate practice, then we can divide the well, actually, I think that this is technically this is if we go back, if we talk about customer relationships, then there's basically three kinds of customer relationships. So you have the communications customer relationship, which means all of the communications that drove the person to the product and got them to buy. So that's one value proposition. Do your messages actually get the customers to come to your website or your store and actually make a purchase? That's all based on what's going on in their head. They haven't tried your product yet. They don't know what is going on with your product. And then next, it's buy again or subscribe. So then you use the product, and then what happens? Either you were successful using the product and you felt really great. So that's talking about the product experience, or you had a problem with either the product or the customer service. And then you're like, well, I don't really want to get involved with this product because there's a problem with the customer service or there's a problem with the product. You can think of it like the easiest analogy is dating, right? So you have this guy, he sends you some messages. He's like, we're gonna have a great time. I'm gonna take you to this fantastic restaurant. Then we're gonna go bungee jumping, and then we're gonna go wrestle some alligators. And you're like, awesome. And then you're like, so you agree, and then you go on this date, and then you're on the date, and then like, so what happens is like you eat from like a hot dog stand on the side of the road, and you're like, I thought you were taking me to a nice restaurant. The guy's like, no, this is the best restaurant. This place is awesome. Yeah, but our understanding of the best restaurant, the definition of this term is slightly different. And it's like, okay, well, you can have whatever definition you want, but this is awesome. And then, okay, you go bungee jumping. And it's like, you never went bungee jumping before. And and you didn't really realize that when you do bungee jumping, it's really painful because like all the blood just rushes to your head. And also before all of that blood rushed to your head, he actually like made this joke. So he after they tied you up, they pretended like they showed you like 2 sides of the cord, like the bungee cord was, like, cut in half, and then next thing you know, he, like, pushes you off, and you're just, like, freaking out because you don't realize it's a joke, and then just at the moment when you're, like, think you're gonna die, then all of a sudden it, like, slows down, the blood goes to your head, and your head's like, "Ah, this is terrible." And then they lower you down into this alligator pit, and it's like, "No, wrestling alligators." Wait, what? Wrestling alligators? I don't even remember that from the communications. You said we're gonna wrestle alligators? So then these alligators are attacking you. All right. So are you gonna buy again? So that the product experience, the communications, the messages, the telephone calls, all of the things got you to that product. And then you go on that date, and then the product experience tells you, no, I'm not gonna do that again. All right. So right now we're talking about like our main focus right now is how do we get somebody to buy? Technically speaking, we're in the pre-funnel stage. And the pre-funnel stage includes things like market research and benchmarking and persona selection and communication style and online footprint. So what is it that we're actually going to do here? Now, I did kind of answer the question about online footprint because I said, well, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the blog article. I'm trying to figure out how to link it all up because I do have a blog on WordPress. But then I need that blog to appear also on my website. And then maybe I just post it on my website? And then do I post it on LinkedIn? And then so how do I get people to, because you have to kind of go to the place where everybody is, and then you have to slowly try to figure out how to get them to come closer to your website and then get them to come closer to your communications and then get them closer to your product and then things that, it's this thing here. This is communications. This is getting people to your product. So now what's going on? So all of that requires key activities, key resources, and key partnerships. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Now I'm gonna take this one. It's my chat GPT. It's my chat GPT. No, it's my Google Gemini. What happens if I pull this out? Is it gonna show another page? Or is it gonna show this page? Sorry, the task management. Yeah. Okay, it's showing the other one. Okay. So there's a couple of things I want to do. Um, I need my Gemini open. So I'm just clicking the Gemini button. Hello, Gemini. Good morning. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. So I'm just going to start talking, and then I want you to organize those thoughts, and then we can move on from there. Now, right now, we have project one, project two, and project three. That's fine. We haven't decided what to do with those projects, which one to focus on, any kind of order, or how we should sequentially do these tasks. We haven't focused on what is our current objective, and we just have some basic directions. Now, if I look at the business model canvas, then I can understand it that the value proposition from the perspective of communications means that we have to produce communications. We have to produce marketing messages. Those marketing messages, they could appear as blog articles, as YouTube videos, as short videos. They could appear as an ebook. They could appear as anything that gets people to the product. We could add videos, we can add text, we can do anything we want. We can talk about anything we want, and at some point, we want people to get to our product and start trying it. So when I see the word value proposition, then from a marketing perspective, those are the marketing messages. Those marketing messages are what brings it gets people to the product and gets them to buy for the first time. And so we can think of marketing messages as the value proposition, and we need to figure out our key activities, our key resources, and our key partners. Now, as we go deeper into the concept of creating marketing messages, I have a current plan. It's called the business. Um, what's it called? The remember that video from Mark Dice where he calls it the drive engine or business drive engine or business growth. He calls it the business growth engine. Now, the business growth engine, it uses the concept of the sales funnel, and he breaks it down into kind of like different stages. For example, in the awareness stage, you want people to know and like your content. So this is about communications. We're going to be writing blog articles, maybe post those blog articles to LinkedIn, post those blog articles to my website, figure out maybe I should post them to my regular blog, and then figure out maybe how to get my regular blog to be shown on my website. We have to figure out technically how to do all that kind of stuff, and that's writing text. Then from that text, we're going to use the text to create the script for a video, for a YouTube video. And after we make the video, then we're going to take that concept and put them into short videos to post on Instagram. Now, at some point, after people see enough of these marketing messages, they're going to figure out that they feel trust, and then they're going to click our lead magnet. Our lead magnet, it's going to show them like some content. Likely, it's going to be kind of like either an online course or it's going to be an ebook, something that people can do to that's going to be related to the content that we've been writing, but also related to getting them into our product. So once they sign up for the email marketing, once they give us their email, then the thing that we promised them, the ebook, probably we're going to deliver to them in a series of, let's say, 5 or 7 or 10 emails. So we're not just going to give them one email. Rather than saying, hey, give us your email, we're going to give you this ebook. We're going to say, give us your email, and then we're going to send you a series of 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 emails with our course or with the content. We're going to give it to you in bite-sized chunks. And also this increases the likelihood that they will do the thing, that they'll go through the course, and also they're going to get used to us sending them emails. Because in the future, we're going to start sending them email updates whenever we write a blog post. Also, these things are to direct traffic into our free version. And then this is the consideration stage of the sales funnel where we want people to go from trust to try. We want them to start using our website, the free version of our app. And then eventually, after they've been using our app for a while and they're receiving our blog articles very specifically related to our product and how to get the most out of it, then they're going to try, and then they're going to buy the paid version of our product. So, I got all these things figured out, and I'm starting to think that I'm a really smart guy. And then suddenly I realize, like, okay, there's this website. It's called 100 Task Startup. So, I found an image of the 100 tasks, and I noticed that it's in like basically it's in three different uh, columns, and then there's one, two, three, four, five different rows. and it's really hard to see the image. So I just took all those ideas and I simplified it. I just, I turned it into 25 tasks. For example, the setup tasks, it has things like define the goal, design the target organization chart, set up financial targets. Then it talks about collecting your ideas and design thinking workshops. Talks about Porter's five forces, three horizons, business model canvas, blue ocean, red ocean for shortlist, customer discovery model, 10 types of innovation for shortlist. And then it talks about ranking the or validating the ideas. So we're talking about rank business model on shortlist, follow lean startup loop until achieving customer validation, make starter kits, determine tool stack. I guess right now, from the concept of validate idea, we are in the follow lean startup tool until achieving customer validation. So what we're going to do is we're doing a soft launch, meaning that we're just going to launch it the way it is, and then we're going to try to get customers, and then we're going to start to make little changes as we start to get people using it and as we get feedback. Now from there, we're going to be moving to the next column, which is launch tasks. And then in here, we're bringing in the core team, which I've already done. It's an AI first business, so it's just me and some AI tools. And then we're going to be define top 20 KPIs. So that's definitely something we could do is defining our top 20 KPIs and then prepare cross-channel marketing strategy. That's what I just talked about. And then you go live. So you start your KPI reporting, conduct launch PR campaign and paid marketing. Exactly. So we are now in this stage. Eventually, we're going to get to the scale tasks, which means getting your staff permanently, which means the start handover to permanent hires, learn from data, analyze progress toward financial targets, and then optimize functions, optimize CAC and CLV, phase in an OKR system, define best practices for each function, and eventually best practices automate important manual processes. I feel like what's the magic? I mean, this is like identical to what I'm like teaching people. They try to make it look like it's such a big idea and a big concept. And at this point, I just feel like I've gone through all of their content. I feel like I understand what they're talking about. I've gone through all of these different ideas, and now it's just I don't know. Like, doesn't it seem like I kind of understand these basic steps of what they're talking about, and that we are actually well on our way to figuring out how to launch this thing. And perhaps we need to start like figuring out what our objectives should really be. I mean, I can give you the full list of the 100 steps, and then you can tell me like what steps have we completed, and then what are the next steps coming up, or we can, I don't know. So, what do you want to do from here? Basically, what we're doing is we're on let's pretend it's Monday today. It's not actually Monday, but let's pretend it's Monday today. And we're on step one of the brainstorming module. So we're going to try to, well, it says that the first step of innovation is to understand the landscape, look at what competitors, industry leaders, or even successful entities in other fields are doing, identify current trends in the key, identifying current trends is key to seeing the opportunities. Questions: how are others doing it? Have you figured out best practices? Talk to experts and followed their trends so you can keep up with what's going on. Provide examples, list current trends, competitor strategies, and best practices you observed. So there you go. Like I've literally just shared with you the 100 steps concept as like this is what perhaps some best practices are for doing a startup, and I've explained some of the steps that I've taken. And I've also given you the prompt that if you'd like I can give you the full list of the 100 steps. Like we're just basically trying to figure out where we are right now, and then we need to plan like 2 steps ahead, and we need to like identify specifically what are the objectives that we're trying to pursue, and how do those things relate to our project one, project two, project three, and what are we going to start doing this week. Like so basically at the end of the day, we need to follow the concept of Kevin O'Leary, which says that you need to be able to distinguish the difference between signal and noise. And noise, it's like right now. So right now there's a lot of noise in my life. Like I'm not really doing all that much. Like I'll come up with like I'll feel some passion and I'll figure out I need to do something, and then I'll spend a couple of hours like really focused on that one thing. Like for example, fixing the website. So now like the website is like pretty much like it's almost ready to launch. And so now like I was really excited that we can now the AI is good enough that we can now like create anything we want with software. But the thing is, like, there's other things that I need to be doing, and sometimes I forget, or I'm not focused, or I just can't figure out what to do first, or like I get distracted. So there's a lot of noise. And we need to figure out just basically like what do we need to focus on today? What are the one or two things that we're going to do today? So, like in the past, I had an idea like integrate the free app with the homepage. Well, I've done that already. That's finished. And then I had this idea to write assignments for the growth engine. All right, so I'm just clicking googly goo. So I'm gonna just put you back into the Google Gemini. Of course, let's cut out the noise. You've done an incredible amount of thinking and have laid out all the puzzle pieces perfectly. It's completely normal to feel overwhelmed when you're standing at this stage. Looking at a dozen valid paths forward, your feeling isn't a sign of being lost, it's a sign that it's time to move from planning to executing on a single clear signal. You've benchmarked yourself against the 100 test startup framework and correctly identified where you are. You're finishing the validate idea phase and moving into the launch phase. According to best practices, two immediate steps are next. Prepare a cross-channel marketing strategy to find KPIs. So it understood exactly what I said. This is the signal amidst the noise. Everything else is distraction for now. Let's translate this into a single focused objective for this week that directly relates to your existing projects. This week's objective: formalize the business growth engine into an actual marketing plan by defining the first content piece, setting the KPIs to measure its success. This objective directly serves Project 2, the content and authority engine, and part of it, defining KPIs, is a foundational for Project 1, early adopter program as well. Today's tasks, the signal. To immediately progress on the objective, here are the only two things we need to focus on today. You see, this is the thing about AI. It's like we look at this, the big five personality. So sometimes I feel like this. I feel like the cross. I mean, this is the yellow hat. What is yellow hat? Yellow hat, blue hat, yellow hat, blue hat. I can't see it. The way you do this is you just open up a new incognito window, and then cut that. And then in the new incognito window, it doesn't matter if you allow the cookies because eventually they're going to disappear. It's not even letting me allow. Okay, that's not working. The other way you can do it is you'll have here. It is. What? Never mind. We could do yellow, blue, red, green personalities. Blue, red, green personalities. Yellow, blue, red, green personalities. Imaginative, intuitive about ideas, visionary, enjoys the unusual, learns by experimenting. Okay, good. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I'm doing here is we're looking at the big five personality indicators, and what you notice is like there's a cross, right? So you have how I connect to people in the world. So we're talking about agreeableness and extroversion, and those things can be they can be combined. And then the other one is how I connect to the world around me, meaning interest in things, nouns, interest in ideas, ways to think, and then you add that to like the adverb. You add some kind of adverb to it. So how are you doing it? How do you verb? Anyway, so sometimes I feel like the big thinker, meaning like I'm high in openness, extremely innovative and curious. And then at the same time, I feel like maybe I'm low in conscientiousness, meaning how organized and dependable. Obviously, I just explained using the Google Gemini that I'm not organized and dependable. I'm trying to get organized, and I'm like, there's too much noise, and I'm not getting things done. I'm getting some things done. I'm hyper focused on one thing, and then it's done. But then there's like five other things that didn't get done. And so it's like it's really slow right now because it's really difficult for me to delegate tasks. I haven't quite figured out how to delegate tasks to AI and then getting them to remind me. So it's like I still don't have an AI that I can talk to in like one place. Anyway, so that's the benefit of like having this Gemini because I can just talk like a crazy person for 5 minutes, and then next thing you know, beep bop boop, it's like tells us exactly what we should be focused on. The only issue is here. So like, okay, so this is my one for this is the marketing. In fact, I just think we'll just change the name to marketing because I think brainstorm module is not really marketing messages. Okay, define the first piece of content. Your business growth engine starts with blog article. This makes it real. We need to decide on specifics. Let's define the exact title and the three bullet point outline for the first article. The single action will be the first domino to follow your entire content funnel. Defining core KPIs, you need to know what success looks like before we start. Let's define the 3 to 5 most important key performance indicators for the initial effort. Let's list the top KPIs for success: weekly email subscribers, first app signups for content, YouTube channel views. Okay. Um, hmm. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is I'm just gonna pull this out again. We're gonna go into the my website because the whole point is that when you feel stuck, you need a tool that can help you get unstuck, which is this. Now, so I'm just gonna click my Google Gemini. The hello. All right, so let's get started. Yeah, I like this idea of the two very specific things that you have told me here. The idea that we need to define the first content piece, and the second idea, which says that we should define the core KPIs. And so I'm just going to go back to my Notion page, and inside of my Notion page, I'm gonna add those two ideas to my KOL matrix. My KOL matrix is just the my to-do list, but it's a to-do list that helps me to remember that the most important thing is to define the signal and then to start working on that signal. Now, the second thing we want to do is after we've defined the signal, which is what you're asking me to do, is to go into our app because we have this structure. So, like for example, I want you to give me the answers. I want you to work. So I want to give you the responsibility to come up with some ideas. So you understand that what we're doing here is, well, maybe I should explain my application. So basically my application, the structure of my product is that managers, they need to talk to two kinds of people. They need to talk to their boss and they need to talk to their team. And yeah, some organizations, they have a boss that basically tells the manager what the objectives are. And then they have other organizations where the manager has to come up with objectives on their own. And so I created this brainstorming module from the work of Thomas J. Buchholz in his direct outcomes checklist defined or called state inventiveness. And I've taken out 5 of the key ideas from his thinking model. And I've identified them as step 1, imitate, step 2, ideate, step 3, ignore, step 4, integrate, and step 5, interfere. And basically speaking, it's just like, the questions are things like, how are others doing it? Have you figured out best practices? Talk to experts, followed the trends so you can keep up with what's going on, provide examples. So it means that the first step to innovation is understanding the landscape, look at what competitors, industry leaders, or even successful entities in other fields are doing. Identifying current trends is the key to seeing opportunities. And in this case, like I'm trying to help you understand my product because I want you to also use this step in order to figure out how other people that are creating products like mine are succeeding in the market. For example, the 100 trends example. This is an example of a product that's in the world right now, and they're helping startups to make decisions about what to do. And like very quickly, we understood from his model that we need to be working on these two specific signal items that we just mentioned. But that the thing, the 100 tasks, it doesn't exactly tell you what to do. It doesn't give you the specific things about what you're actually supposed to be doing when you're on that step. I mean, it gives you ideas and concepts. Like it tells you, well, you need to understand design thinking 101. Well, you need to understand Porter's five forces. Well, you need to understand business model canvas. Well, you need to understand red ocean, blue ocean. Well, you need to understand customer development. Ah, you need to understand 10 types of innovation. Oh, you need to understand TOGAF. Ah, you need to understand lean startup. Well, actually, my product is kind of similar to these products. Like, how did all these products become famous? Like, if they created blog articles back in the day, like what kind of blog articles did they write? Like, how did design thinking? Did they only talk about their product specifically, or did they talk about other topics? And the concept it's about the sales funnel because I'm trying to understand like how far up the sales funnel are we going? Like, am I talking about so like one strategy is like I could just talk specifically about what I'm doing in my business right now. Like I could talk about like I could talk about the business model canvas and say, hey, guess what, everyone? In the business model canvas, we have this thing. It's called customer relationships. And based on my understanding of customer relationships, we have basically, communications, which means we're trying to get someone to buy. And then we have the product experience, which gets them to buy again or subscribe. And then in the long term, we have the ability to continue to provide communications and get them to buy something else or maybe buy something more expensive called upsell. And the first step of getting someone to buy is about a pre-funnel, and so we need to start doing market research, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. And we're going to start talking about benchmarking, and then inside of benchmarking, then well, what we could talk about is this concept of what I understand to be the product launch roadmap. And in the product launch roadmap, we have basically the first step is not the Porter's five forces, but the Porter's three forces, because we need to really define the elements of the value proposition. For example, in my case, this is a brainstorming tool. It's a process whereby managers can create objectives and then work with their team to carry out those objectives. And then, okay, so who are the established competitors in the industry? And then who are the innovative competitors? Meaning, what's now replacing some of the established competitors? And then, what are the substitutes? What were people using if they weren't purchasing the established competitor product in order to do this brainstorming product process? And that's only step number one of the thing called step one, imitate, the brainstorm module. After that, we go into the step two, which is ideate, which means like now that you're done your benchmarking, if we're going to get ahead, we need to start thinking outside the box. What other ideas do we have? Then we're in step three. What are things that didn't work, won't work, or are wasting our time? Can we list some don't do that ideas? At least figure out what other people have done, tried, and failed. And then we're going into how can you take the above examples and find ways to shorten the distance, speed things up regarding connections with customers, providers, and internal clients. How can we do this, whatever that thing that may be, better? And then finally, now that you're doing better, what are you going to do to slow down your competitors? It's easier to pass cars going in slow motion. How can we slow them down? So that's the complete. So now we're going to complete that brainstorming module, and that's one module. Now there's two other modules. So based on that module, you're supposed to come up with a bunch of potential objectives. And so you're having a meeting with your boss and you're like, okay, so I have like five potential objectives. And then the boss is like, okay, so which one are you going to choose? And it's like, well, okay, well, let's have a conversation. So then you jump into the choose module. Number one, what scenarios are being considered? Step number two, what are the similarities and differences between those scenarios? Step number three, how do you decide on what aspects of the scenarios are more or less important to consider? Next step, evaluate the differences based on those important aspects. Finally, make statements that support your decision. So then you're with your boss and you made a decision, you decided on the objective. Maybe you also talked about some like exactly like what's the smart goal, like what are we trying to achieve, and then like how are we going to measure it, and then what's the period of time and things like that. And then you bring it. So then the second part of this concept is we're going to bring that objective to the team. And we have 7 steps in the objective module that is going to help us to create a to-do list. For example, which objectives would you like to talk about? All right. So we begin the meeting, we talk about the objective that we're working on. All right. What are the steps to accomplish the objective if you were to delegate it to someone else to do? So I could ask one guy on my team, I could say, okay, so what do you think the steps are to accomplish this objective if you were the manager? And then you ask another person on the team, well, what do you think? And what additional steps do you think there are? And then next, what are the additional business services that are needed? And then what are the skills that are necessary to complete the tasks? And then what additional tools are needed? And then who will you need to contact in the process of work? And finally, who will you need to cooperate with to complete the tasks? Now, from that, we complete the third and final module. And from there, then we can use anybody's project management software, or you can use the task list, which I have on my website right now. Right. So that's the tool. That's the concept. That's the idea. So I've learned about all these different business models and different types of business thinking and thinking tools and thinking methodologies and business coaching and business training and business analysis. And like, I'm okay. Now this is the piece that I want to add to the puzzle. And the problem is, I don't know if I should just continue to just share exactly the steps that I'm talking, like literally talk about what am I doing in my business to launch my business, or do I take a step back and create more of like a systematic way to explain like all of the different concepts about like how we should think about business and introducing the different business methodologies and introducing the business tools, or do I try to dig deeper and just only focus on the steps that are inside of my tool? What is this step? What does it mean? Here's an example. Here's how to think about this. Here's and then we can come up with very specific case studies and then go through the case studies one by one. So, like, what is this blog article going to be about? And more specifically, if we use the thinking from our brainstorming module, how did all those other competitors, meaning like the ones I just shared, like Porter's Five Forces and Design Thinking and Lean Startup and Business Model Canvas, and all those competitors that are in the business methodology arena, how did they start? Creating marketing messages like, all right. So I'm just going to pop the Gemini back into the window. Of course, let's get started. You've laid out the core challenge perfectly. You have a powerful, well-structured project, but first step in your business growth engine is the blog post, and you're facing the classic strategic dilemma. What should we talk about first? You've identified 3 potential content strategies: the meta blog, documenting your own startup journey; the professor, teaching broad landscape of all business theories; the specialist, doing a deep dive into your own. Exactly. You see, this is the partner that I need to figure out the best path. You asked the most important Monday question: how did our real competitors, the creators of methodologies like Lean Startup, Business Model Canvas, and Design Thinking, do it? The answer is clear. They all started with strategy. The specialist often mixed with a little strategy A. The meta blog, Rice didn't start by teaching every business theory. He blogged relentlessly about the problems he faced and the specific lean startup principles he developed to solve them. The creators of Business Model Canvas didn't write a general textbook. They shared their specific research and deep dive into their unique 9-box canvas. They established themselves as the authorities by being specialists in their own unique solution first. Our recommended content strategy based on this, my strong recommendation is that we adopt strategy C, the specialist. We should focus our content exclusively on the Project Arrowhead framework. This is the most direct path to attracting your ideal user, a manager who's actively looking for a better way to plan and lead. It clearly communicates your unique value and builds a brand around the intellectual property from day one. Today's signal, defining the first blog post. Now let's turn the strategy into today's actionable task. We need to define the title and outline for the first specialist blog post. The goal is to introduce the very first step of your methodology in a way that solved a real problem for the reader. This is my proposed first content piece. Title, beyond the buzzwords. The first question every team must answer before brainstorming. Outline, the pain of the point, pointless brainstorm. The pain of the pointless brainstorm. Today, start with a relatable story about a typical brainstorming meeting that goes nowhere, full of random ideas, no clear direction, and ending with a vague action item. This hooks the reader by describing the pain that they personally felt, the flaw in the thinking outside the box. Argue that the popular advice to think outside the box is a problem. True innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens after you first understand the box you're in. Introducing the imitate principle. Introduce step one of your framework. Explain that the most effective teams begin not in generating new ideas, but by first understanding the landscape. What are our competitors doing? What are the current trends? What are the established best practices we can learn from? Frame this not as copying, but as strategic intelligence. This article establishes your authority, introduces the first key concept of unique methodology, gives the reader an immediate actionable insight, and the. All right. Yeah. So first of all, I love your idea. I think it's great, and I'm really happy that you came up with this. So basically, what the conclusion that you've come to is that you have successfully used our thinking. For example, you've used the concept of imitate trends to look at what our competitors have done, and then provided an objective based on that analysis. Now, you only provided one suggestion, but that's good. It was a really great suggestion. Now, possibly you could create a second suggestion and a third suggestion based on what people did in the past, but it seems as though your research tends to indicate that if we use blog articles, then the best thing to do is to blog about your personal thing. It's almost like, well, there isn't a lot of other options. This is the way to go forward based on the concept of imitate trends. Now, if we go to the next stage, so let's imagine that it's Tuesday and now we're going to the ideate. So, step number two is now that you've done your research, it's time to think outside the box. Don't limit yourself to what's already been done. Generate completely new, creative, and innovative concepts. Now that you've done benchmarking, if we're going to get ahead, we need to think outside the box. What other ideas do we have? List all new ideas, no matter how unconventional. What if we tried a subscription? Okay, this is kind of a weird thing. It says, what if we tried a subscription model? And if we targeted a completely different segment? So it tries to come up with some specific ideas. We don't actually want that idea. So what I want you to do is like, my question is like, how many ideas can you come up with? Like, imagine that you are a combination of two things. So imagine that if we look at the big five personality traits, and imagine that you were extremely high in openness, meaning that you're extremely innovative and curious, you're interested in things, you're interested in ideas, you have all these desires to have new ways of thinking. And sometimes you see connections between things that maybe nobody else can see those connections. And so you can find things, you can feel things, you can see things, you can go places that nobody else can go. And suddenly you realize that like, wow, you're a big thinker. You're not afraid to be wrong. You're super creative. And maybe from the conscientiousness standpoint, you in the next in the at least in your next reply, you're going to become easygoing and careless, meaning that like your conscientiousness is very low, meaning like any idea is a good idea. And as long as it has some small connection, and maybe only you can see that connection. But now that we have a very concrete idea of what worked in the past for other thinking ideas and thinking methodologies, like now it's time to think outside the box. And I want to know, how many ideas do you think you can come up with? Can you come up with 5 ideas, 10 ideas, 15 ideas, 20 ideas? Can you come up with 100 ideas? And then after you've come up with those 100 ideas, I want you to look at some patterns between those ideas. And I want you to identify those patterns. Beep, bop, boop. All right, I got a meeting in 5 minutes. So I think we're just gonna read whatever googly goo says. And then the thing is that like we still need to go through the other. So I'm gonna do this on my own. What are things that didn't work, won't work, or wasting our time? So after it comes up with that whole big list, then we're gonna go through this, and then we're gonna go through this, and then we're gonna go through this. All right, maybe I'll make another video today, and we'll just keep on working through this process because I'm trying to avoid actually doing the work. Nice. Yeah, I came up with a whole bunch of new ideas. Good. All right, I'll just make another video later today. I gotta go. So how do I get out of here? Stop sharing. And bye bye.